Welcome to our latest session at LocalGov Drupal Week. Thanks so much for joining us. This session is entitled, Can Running a Fleet of Microsites Really Be This Easy? And it's hosted by Mark Conroy of Annertech. Hello, Mark.
Hi, everyone. How are you doing?
Thanks very much for running the session, Mark. We'd like to take this opportunity to thank our event sponsor, Home Connections. Owned and led by local authorities and housing associations, Home Connections is a social purpose company supporting a fairer housing sector. So thanks to them. Thanks also to all our council and supplier subscribers, including Annertech, from where Mark is from, and our supporting partner Netcall, because they've all contributed so much to the project and this week. A little bit of Zoom help before we start. You can decide how to view the meeting in the top right by clicking view in the top right of your screen. If you've got any questions, if you could type them in the chat, that would be great. I'm now going to hand you over to Mark, who's running the session. Thank you, Mark. Take it away.
Thank you very much, Tim. Good morning, everyone. I'm going to share my screen and we're going to have a look at the LocalGov Drupal Microsites platform. So there's a couple of things to talk about with this. First off, the problem we were trying to solve was that lots of councils have lots of microsites. So talking to some of the smaller councils, they maybe 15, 20 microsites. Talking to some of the larger councils, I think one of them counted 110 microsites. These get very costly because if you got a microsite for one thing and a microsite for something else and a microsite for something else, and they all only cost 5,000 euros each, but you multiply those by 100 microsites, well, you're up to €500,000 a year on microsites alone. If you've got to keep those microsites for multiple years, you're looking at 100 different hosting plans, you look at 100 different support contracts, and you're also looking at well, I guess exponential revenue that's going to need to be generated to keep those all online. What we're trying to solve with the microsites platform with that was that the idea you can have one single platform, and that single platform would host all of your microsites. So we cut down on all the cost of hosting 100 different hosting plans, let's say. You cut down on the idea that you've got maybe 20 or 30 different suppliers that maintain your 100 different websites. So you pay for your hosting once, you pay for your support once, and if you got a support request that you need an update to a microsite or you need a new feature for your microsites, not just a microsite, that we can deploy this feature once and all the microsites will get it. The other thing that we tried to solve was the idea that lots of microsites within a council look kind of like the council's branding, but not exactly like the council's branding. And the idea of brand consistency and governance starts getting diluted, if not lost. So we built a system that you could have a base look and feel for your microsite, and then all of your other microsites would look exactly like that. But of course, then there was one more issue, which was some microsites should look like the council branding, but be slightly different for whatever reason. We might just need to change a color on the background. So we might have a base branding for all of our microsites, but at Christmas, we want to have the header to be a red background because it's a nice Christmas color, and that's okay. And then there was another issue we had to solve, which was some microsites should look completely different. So a council might sponsor an event, and it could be a community event, but for whatever reason, there should be no council branding around the event. It's just that the council are giving the funding for it or giving the space for it. So that was another issue we had to solve. And when we solved all those issues, and I think we did solve them, we then got to the stage where we realized the microsites platform is not just for councils, that any, I'll say, large organization can benefit from this. The example I keep coming back to, I think, is universities. We've been doing a lot of work recently with universities, and they've got a lot of, say, research departments, and every research department should look the same as every other research department. Or they've got a lot of lecturers that maybe want individual websites, but their individual websites should be branded along the council branding guidelines. Or you got a political party with, say, a council coming up, or sorry, an election coming up, and every person standing for election may want their own website, but the political party will want to make sure that every website still has the same branding for each candidate. And you can do all of that with the LocalGov Drupal microsites platform. So I think I like to look at the LocalGov Drupal microsites platform as microsites is a product of LocalGov Drupal, as opposed to microsites needs LocalGov Drupal to run itself. And so today's example, I actually used the university as our example today, kind of because I couldn't think of what microsites councils might want, and I do know some of the microsites that councils might want. So having a quick look at some I put together this morning, I put together I think 6 websites here just in the last maybe hour or so. So one of them I put together was called a policies website. So I think, you know, a lot of organizations might decide, why do we have an accessibility policy on our website and a different one on our other website and a different one on our 35 other websites? And when we need to update our accessibility policy, we've got to find the logins for these 35 websites and update them all individually. Why not have a policies website? And all of our policies will be identical for all of our web infrastructure. So you can link your accessibility policy will be linked to in your footer directly back to your policies website, and your cookies policy, your privacy policy, all those kinds of things. And then you can have users or visitors request a policy or search for your policies. Another website then was, say, within a university, if this was the science research department. Well, the science research department should look identical to our policies department. And you can see there's no difference, sorry, our policies website. We can see there's no difference here between these, except the name of the website here and the menu items that we've got over here. So we can have careers and staff portal here and conference and things here, whereas policies links directly to our policies. Then if we had, say, an economics department should look identical to the science department, but for some reason, the economics department decide that we don't want on a wide screen the name of our website and the menu for our website to go to full width of the screen. We want that to be contained within more the center area of the screen. So the economics department decides on this one particular website, we're going to do that. Now, this doesn't break our brand guidelines. It doesn't break our brand colors. It doesn't break our fonts or spacing or anything. It just says this website is going to be contained within the width of the content area rather than the full width of the screen. The languages department then might go one step further and decide, we actually don't want the header and those areas to be the full width of the screen. We want everything to only be as wide as the content area of the screen. And again, they can do that without breaking our brand guidelines. So what I'm trying to show here is that we can have a base theme that can have variations per website, but none of these variations break anything that's within the brand guidelines or our color scheme or our fonts and things like that. And it does allow some kind of variation then to have I would say a slight bit of personality per website. However, it comes to Christmas then, and we decide that at Christmas time we want to put a red background, and we've removed the utility menu from the top. But again, we're not breaking outside of the parameters of what we are allowed to do with our council specific branded websites. It's the very same as the policies website, except because this menu here is missing, the header is not as chunky. And besides that, the only other difference we've got then is the color on the background. You'll see everything else, the fonts, the spacing between lines, the line height, things that's all identical to what we have on our base theme. And then we come along to a film festival. And the film festival, the space and the funding is being given by the council, but the council will have no involvement in the film festival itself. So that website needs to look completely different, but all still be hosted on the same platform. So the film festival gets its own website, and they decided, we want a green background. We want a font called something grotesque. I'm not sure exactly what it was called. We want a different line height spacing for our items here. And all of our headings will use this kind of a font. And we don't want to have a hero image like this at the top. Instead, we're going to put a big video. So they're the kind of variations that we can get as I'm not sure what the word is, as energetic, let's say, as we want in terms of what these designs should look like on a per microsite basis. And we can do that in code, or we can do a lot of it within the UI. So again, you know, we will in general have a fallback to this is our pattern, but if we need to go outside of it slightly, we can. And if we need to have a full custom design on a per microsite basis, we can do that. Let's have a look then at creating a microsite. So if we come over to here, zoom out a small little bit. So I'm logged in here with a user called Marky, and Marky has the role of a microsite controller. So I'm allowed to create as many microsites as I want, and I can edit all of the microsites that I want. So we can see we've got all the different microsites here. And we'll do this in a moment, if I log into one of the individual microsites, then I'll only see that specific microsite, and that's the only microsite I can edit. And that's where you might be allowing someone from outside of your council to be a member of a microsite and edit the microsite without being able to edit any of the other microsites. So they'll never be able to edit your policies. They'll never be able to edit any of your research institutions. They'll only be able to edit the film festival website that they've been given access to. So to add a microsite, we give the microsite a name. So we'll call this LGD week. And then we configure the domain. So this is the host name of the website. So this would be something like lgd-week.com. So you can give it an individual web name if you want. Just for the purposes of this demo, I need to have the domain name on the same URL as a subdomain, sorry, of where the actual thing is hosted. That's just for the demo though. So we complete this. Okay, that should have set up our microsite for us now. So we go to lgdweek.lgd, whatever this domain is, and log in to this. We should get our microsite. And by default, what we've done is we give you a default homepage. Now, there's probably too much information on this page and too many things, and you're not going to have something like this on your live website. But what we've done here is created all the different components that are available on the page to show you where they are and how they can look and what you can do with them. So some of the interesting features in this include the idea that a text component only goes this wide on the screen. So you can see there's a bit more space between you know, on the right-hand side here. That's because text should only be about 80 characters wide in terms for legibility. So we don't allow this component to be the full width of the screen because it's very, very hard to read something that would go that far. So it doesn't go as wide as the accordion here. Some of the other things we've created include the idea here that you've got a background color on this component here, and the fact that that component goes the full width of the screen, no matter how wide the screen is. So I'm looking at 27-inch monitor here, that will always be the full width of the screen. Some of the other components, what you might decide to do is say that I want it to be slightly wider than the content area because I got two big teasers that I want to put into it, but I don't want it to be the full width of the screen. But I also don't want it to be as thin as the general content area either. You might get another component and say that, I'm hoping we have one, we don't. You can do, we'll see so in a second, where you would say that I want the content to be contained within this area here, but I want the background color to go to full width of the screen. So that's just to show you the different kind of things that are available within the microsite homepage. So this microsite at the moment is using if we click on the site and we click on the site settings, we can see that it's using the LocalGov microsites base team. So since this is going to be a council website, let's say that we want this to use the LGD council base team instead. And we click submit here. And if we refresh this page, now we're getting what we have on the policies website. So we've changed the fonts. We've changed the size of the intro text. We've changed the line height here. We've changed the background color. We've added some extra padding on the header. Now that's all done within the CSS of the team. And to do all of that, we've got these 2 lines of CSS here, and we've got these 3 lines of CSS here. Nothing more than that. Now, of course, within your council, you probably will have, you know, more design things that you want to do, but I'm trying to show here that we've built a very strong base that you can extend from, as opposed to start from scratch yourself. Some of the other things then we have here include the admin team. You might decide that you don't want to use Clara for your admin team, you want to use Gin, or you want to use the council team. That's up to yourselves. I like Clara, so I'll leave it at that. And then the content types that are allowed to be published inside this microsite. So there are some that are available by default, and such as a page and things like that. And there are some that we've said you can enable and disable. So you can enable and disable blogs, directories, events, web forms, and use. So some of your microsites might not need those features. I see there's things popping up here in the chat. If somebody wants to ask a question and interrupt me, you can feel free, but I'm not going to open the chat while we're demoing. So after that, then we can look at the site design tab. So the site design tab says that whatever's in the base theme, so in this case, this size header and this font and these line heights, things like that, take all of those, but on this particular website, I might want to override them. So we can override things using the global styles. So at the moment, the primary color we have is navy. So let's say that the primary color we want on this one particular website is going to be, we go with brown. So you can type in the word brown here, and there's I think 300 different colors in CSS that you can use. So you can use brown, green, and it'll pick them all up for you. Or if you happen to know the hex codes for different ones, you can use that, or HSL. So any valid CSS property you want to use, you can use there. For the purpose of this, I'll just use brown because we can understand human language better. And I'm just going to change brown and nothing else, and click save here at the bottom. This should work. We should get a brown background here now instead. It's a bit more reddish, but I guess that's what CSS calls brown. But everything else then has remained the same. So we still have the exact same font as we have on this site. We've got the exact same fonts here and the same line heights. So all it's done is said, on this particular website, I want to override the main accent color. And anywhere that accent color is used, that gets pulled in here for us. And we'll see down here at the footer as well. That's the feature we use then for the Christmas one. Christmas uses everything that's on the policies website, except it says I want to use red as my main color instead of the blue. Now these global styles will take effect across the full website and everywhere that these are used. And we've got lots of them. So there's primary colors, secondary colors. You might decide then across the whole website, the heading font. So all my headings should be Archivo black. I don't want to use that. I can't remember what the other one we are using actually is, Oswald, I think it's called. I don't want to use that. I want to use this instead. And that will then set headings everywhere. So all the H1s, all the H2s, all the H3s, these will all start using the Archivo black font. But for some reason, I want to override some headings. So I want heading 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, all to use Archivo black. But for heading 2, I actually want to use Playfair Disney as my heading 2 font. So this allows us to override just that. And you can override all these different properties of heading 2. And we can do the same with heading 3, 4, and 5 if we wanted. So for demo purposes, we won't. So I'm going to save this. We should see now that this one here, heading 1, heading 3, heading 4, etc., will use the Archivo, and heading 2 will use Playable. So there you go. These are now the chunkier kind of fonts, and this uses the heading Playable font here. Some of the other things, though, we won't go through the heading overrides much more. Let's see. We've then got the header design. So we can have 3 different widths for the header. The header can be like the policies website. It's 100% of the screen width, no matter how wide the screen is. It can be like this, the economics one. It's 100% of the screen width, but the content gets contained within the content area. Or it can be like the languages one. Everything gets contained within the content area. And to do that, you can just choose your header width here. I want it to be full width with the full width content and full width background. I want constrained content, but a full width background. or I want constrained content and background. So I like this middle one here. I've got these little diagrams here. Maria did these. I'm not sure exactly how, but they're really cool to show you what each of the items will end up showing us. And then even though we chose on the global styles that brown is our primary color, we can say brown can be our primary color if it wants, but I want purple to be my primary color, to be my header background color. There's some other things then we can add in a logo. We can choose to not show our site name. We can add in a slogan for the site as well. And then some font options and some extra menu options. I won't go through all those because you get the idea that we're changing fonts, we're changing colors, things like that. So let's save this. And we should now see that on the top here, this name should move in here to the center area. The background color will change here, but the background color on the footer and the other place that uses primary color should remain the same. So now we've got the purple header. This has moved in. And if we come to the bottom of the screen, you can see we still have brown as our main primary color here, and brown being used throughout wherever we called primary color earlier on. And we got the same principles then for the pre-header. So that's a section we have on top of the header that you might have something like a login box or a search block or something like that. And we've got the same principle available then for the footer, that you can choose the background colors for the footer and all those different colors and how wide the footer might be. So that's the design principles we've got. So number one, you've got, we'll say over here, your LocalGov Microsites base. Number two, we've got our custom council team that will take everything's in Microsites base, but give us our own custom look and feel. And number three, in the UI, then we can actually override those on a per microsite basis. After that, then we've got, let's say, menus is probably a handy one. So we've got three menus. We've got a main menu. So if we look at our homepage here at the moment, we've just got LGD week at the top, but we don't have any menu items in it. So we can add a link to this menu item here. So we'll say what's on. I'll just link everything to the front page for now. And we'll add a second link saying get tickets. And when we refresh this page now, we should have a menu on the side for the website. We've got another menu then. I won't keep going through all the menus because we'll get the idea of those fairly quickly. We've got another menu then called the utility menu. I won't actually even add anything to it, but the utility menu, that's the menu that goes on the top here. So it's a slightly smaller menu where you might have a login portal or a search link or something like that. And then we've also got the footer housekeeping menu. So that's what will go down at the very bottom of your page for your policies and cookies links and things like that. After that, we've got the content that goes into your actual website. So by default, every time you create a microsite, we create this welcome to your new site page. So that's the home page we saw. And that gives you, that shows you kind of an example of the different features that are available in this page. So we've got a lovely rich text, or sorry, a lovely page layout system. A lot of people don't know about this, and I actually made a video of it yesterday and put it on my blog, that we have two layout systems now in LocalGov Drupal. The one that you're all used to from the subsites content type, but also this one here, which adds more advanced features. But it's available in all your LocalGov Drupal websites, but it's not turned on by default. So you need to turn it on. And if you use something like this, then you can click on Add Section. You get three different layouts: 1 column, 2 column, 3 column. Justine from Chicken, thanks Justine, yesterday put in a pull request for us to make a 4 column layout as well, so that should get merged fairly soon. So if you choose, we'll say a 2 column layout, then you can choose how wide you want this section to be. So I want this section to be the full width of the screen, but I want the content contained in the center. I want the background color of it to be our accent background color, and I want some padding on the top and some padding on the bottom, just to give it a bit of spacing. And you can add more options if you want, as in your developers can add these for you if you want to add extra sizes or extra colors or remove some options. So with that being the case, we can now add in our 2 different columns. So let's say we want to add in a text item on the left-hand side. I'm just going with text because it's the quickest rather than showing all the different features. And we'll put a quote on the on the left-hand side. Let's save this. Okay, now if we come back here to our website, we can see it looks a little bit different. The reason it's different here is because here it's pulling the accent color in from the actual controller website, as opposed to looking at it on our subdomain or domain itself. So there's our two columns, and you can keep building up your page then like that by adding new sections, putting in your different bits and pieces. So the different content types we have available within. Actually, let me log in. I'm going to log into this website here instead. So we can see what you'd see as an editor. So as an editor here now, when I log in, if I click on my microsites tab, I've only got LGD week. Whereas when I'm logged into the control site, we saw I can edit all the different websites. So on LGD week, discard this. I can say here that I want to add some new content, and the same as any Drupal website or your other LocalGov Drupal websites, you've got all the different content types that we can add. I won't go through them because they're self-evident enough in terms of, we know what a blog is, we know what an event is, we know what news is, and we're used to using the directories. One of the other features that is very interesting is the idea of members. So this is where we add people to our microsite. So you can have an account on Drupal, but not be able to edit anything in the microsite, because the account on Drupal allows you access to the Drupal website. And then when you're a member of the Drupal website, we say what microsites you're now a member of. So we add members in. So we either add a new user here. I won't go through this. We add a new user here, and when they're added, we invite that member. Sorry, we add that member into our microsite, and we give them a role that they can be an admin, or we can't see there's not other ones here, but they can be an admin, or they could be an editor, or they can be a subscriber, or whatever roles we decide, and that says what access control they have inside this particular microsite. So now we've got two members in this, but you might have someone who's not a member, who's not a user on your Drupal website just yet, so they can't be added to the microsite. So to get around that feature, we built this invite members option here. And what this allows us to do is put in someone's email address, so mark@mark.ie. So this isn't my mark@scarfallcouncil.gov.uk. And you can submit this, and you can add as many as you want. You can add in mark@conroy.com, or as many email addresses as you want. And what this will do then is it will go and send an email to that person and tell that person, you have been invited to this microsite. Click here to complete your account setup. And when they do that, they will then also be a member of the microsite and only be able to edit content within this microsite. After that, then we've got a few other things like the media. The media is the media library from Drupal, but it's built in such a way that you can only edit content. You can only edit media that is actually part of your own microsite. It doesn't allow you to edit media inside somebody else's microsite. So you can't change your logo, and then that would update the logo of some other organization. That thankfully doesn't happen. I think it was Stephen and Leeks that built that. So well done, guys, because it wasn't easy. That's the general look and feel of how to create a microsite, how to have different look and feel per microsites, and how to have a base microsite team that will kind of ensure you got brand consistency. So if we have any questions, I'll take them now.
Thanks, Mark. There's a few questions in the chat. If I read them out, sure. And I'll start with Emma from Cumberland. Can we add automated breadcrumbs?
Automated breadcrumbs are there already. You don't see them here because the only thing we're seeing on any at the moment is home pages. So we don't put the breadcrumbs on the home pages. But if I added a blog page, so then you would see a breadcrumb from home, blogs, blog title, or whatever it is.
Okay, thanks, Mark. Next question. This is from Alice Gray. Is this an entirely separate distribution, or can it be added to a normal LGD site? E.g., is it a module?
It's an entirely separate distribution, I think you probably could somehow add it to an LGD site, but I think it would be very hard, and I think it would be a maintenance nightmare. So, to all intents and purposes, let's say it's an independent, fully independent portal.
Brilliant, thank you. Is this going to be a session on theming? I know Mark has uploaded some videos, but can't remember if there's any sessions on it this week. That's from Sav. No, there's no specific sessions on theming, but maybe Mark could post in Slack all his incredible theming videos after we've done this session, possibly, Mark.
Yeah, and I can actually make a video on, because those videos are different aspects of theming a microsite. I might make a video on
fully independent distribution,
an actual full video on here's how to theme a microsite. Although it's pretty simple. I mean, we can see here it's 3 or 4 lines of CSS here and 3 or 4 lines of CSS there, and then if you wanted a couple of template overrides. So, but I'll post in whatever I have after this talk.
Brilliant, thanks, Mark. Question from Ryan. Can the member invite be used to invite people to view pages only when they're logged in and not have any editing rights?
Out of the box, I think it doesn't do that, but you could set up new roles. So we saw just the admin roles. So you could set up roles for a role called viewer, let's say, and then when you invite someone, you could assign that role to them and give that role only permissions for viewing rather than editing.
Okay. Another question from Alice was, can you share some live council site examples? And thanks to Ryan and Chris for posting those in, so people can go to the chat and have a look at those live council sites. And one for Walsall's send offer as well. That's the end of the questions that are in chat. Has anyone got any other questions for Mark? You can either unmute yourself and shout or put them in the questions. There's a few thanks, lots of thanks for Mark. Mark, is there anything else you'd like to add that you haven't covered?
No, I'm happy. If anyone wants to ask me anything privately or via Slack or whatever, you know where to find me.
That's great. Okay. Well, maybe we can end that session there. I've just realised no one can see me. Sorry. Hello. I turned my camera off, hadn't I? So, I'll get my notes in front of me. Sorry, I should have my notes.
I've just thought of a question actually.
Oh, go
on. Just thinking about like the hosting setup, Mark, is there, compared to hosting a standard LocalGov Drupal installation, we've already identified that this is a separate distribution designed to be separate to your main website. Are there any more complexities in the hosting setup needed?
I don't see any more complexities. No, I mean it's based like LocalGov Drupal plus group module plus domain module, but they're just an extra couple of Drupal modules. You might want to do maybe a bit more testing if you're doing an update to make sure that some of the sites don't break, but I don't see why they would, given the teaming system is fairly simple in terms of how to do overrides and that. So no, it shouldn't be any more difficult really than hosting a Drupal website.
the only difference is that you need to configure your server with multiple domains if you're not all on the same subdomain.
Yeah. Well, I guess that's more a DNS issue than hosting.
The web server would also have to be configured to accept it. So yeah.
Stella knows more about this kind of thing than I do. I guess it'd be interesting as well to look to something we haven't really looked at in the distribution is performance, and like how many sites and how many users at what point we start to see performance. Yeah, how much juice we'd need for the servers, I guess, again. So it'd be interesting. I guess we should start doing some research on people who have already got sites live and what kind of hosting setup they've got them on as well.
I guess though, Finn, as well, I mean, that would be true of any Drupal website. If you got Drupal.org, which has 1 million nodes and 100,000 users, that's probably going to be under as much pressure as us with 1 million pages across 100 microsites plus, that kind of thing. It's still just a question of scale, as opposed to, is there anything about microsites that makes this more difficult?
It will come down to the traffic that each of the sites is receiving. Not so much the number of pages or the number of sites, but collectively how much traffic they're all together receiving.
Ryan, sorry to put you on the spot, Ryan, but just going back to the title of the session, how easy have you found it building your first microsite?
We had a bit of issue because, I mean, in terms of hosting, we were hosting it on the same server as our council website. So we just like what the guys were just talking about, with DNS stuff and the vhost, all that stuff goes over my head. But yeah, it was a bit tricky in the beginning. Yeah, because we would do something and then microsites would go down or the main website would go down. But once Justine and Rupert and Code Enigma, again, because it was the first time Code Enigma were playing around with microsites, but once they got the hang of it, it was pretty straightforward. I was just going to ask a question actually as well around, because what I think one of the things we're now, I don't say struggling with, but we're going to be doing more microsites in the coming months, and we're trying to work out how would you have like a stage environment and how that would work with production. Because normally we would take a copy of production and obviously put it back onto our stage environment. But is it possible to just do that with one microsite, or does it take a copy of the whole of production and then you're overwriting everything there as well? I don't know if Finn and Mark have got any thoughts or come across those issues as well.
That's a good question. The quick answer is that you'd be getting the database and overwriting everything. I hadn't actually considered why you wouldn't do that, but your use case is kind of on the ball. Maybe we could look at something like entity share module or something to pull things back to a staging site rather than get everything in one go. But that sounds like a tricky issue that someone will have to solve maybe at some stage.
You could have, depending on your hosting provider, you could have a setup where you have multiple environments. So I know we provide like 3 as standard, but you could have separate ones for each of the microsites, but you will be taking the full database from production because it's all one database, and it would be very hard at the technical level to split that. But you could then say, well, this one is the latest stuff that's happening on this particular microsite, and this other one is the latest stuff that's happening on the other one. But yeah, they do come as a unit.
You probably wouldn't want to have, say, 100 environments just if you've got 100 microsites.
No, probably not. Because then you have to pay for them. They take resources too. Yeah.
That was a really interesting and naughty question, Ryan. So thanks for that. I'm sure that's something that Finn, as our tech lead, will make a note of and bring to a future tech meeting. Thumbs up from Finn. Thank you. We've got another question from Lizzie Cox, Bracknell Forest. Are there any instructions for best practice for hosting suppliers on setting up and managing microsites? So is there any documentation for best practice?
I don't think so.
No?
For hosting, there is something that I think we need to start writing about hosting in general and hosting setups in LocalGov Drupal, because there's so many different options, different providers, different ways of doing it. We've been sort of reluctant to document a recommended approach, but I think the lack of that has led to some people not fully understanding some sort of basic concepts of Drupal hosting and config deployment and all this kind of stuff. And I think with microsites, there's an added complexity there as well, as has just been highlighted, with that you've got many sites in one system. So I think, yeah, that's something we need to start documenting what people have done and use examples of existing hosting setups with the councils who've already got microsites set up. And yeah, just be clear that there's no one right way, but these are considerations. So you mentioned the DNS, the setup, the dev staging live, yeah, so let's work on that definitely. I'll reach out to
Brilliant.
the councils who already have sites set up and try and gather some case studies as well.
Craig, can I put you on the spot for a second? You've set up a microsite as well, I think. How was the process for you?
Me, Craig Barker.
Yeah.
Get my camera on. My involvement was very light touch, so you'd want to speak to, I think Bob's on the call and so is Emma.
Go on, Emma.
Who wants to go first out of Bob and Emma?
Go on, Emma. I can see you. Your camera's on, so we'll pick on you. Sorry.
I'm in a really busy office, so sorry if it's a bit noisy.
No, it's not a problem.
Yeah, really easy for me. Love the tool, love using it. It'd be good to get. I know that Bob's doing some work to get some themes done for microsites that we can apply. So it'd be nice to see that come through. But so easy, so quick to turn around. I mean, I'm on the second microsite now, so it took us about 6 weeks for about 150 pages. I still haven't mastered the breadcrumbs though. We've got to work around, so I need to figure out the assigning parent and child pages to get those to work. But yeah, really simple. Really enjoyed it.
Brilliant. Thanks, Emma. Chris Gibson from Newcastle City Council. How have you found it? Sorry, putting you on the spot now.
So again, probably I might pass the buck to Michael, who's also on the call, Michael Brown, because I installed it on the on our web server, set up the vhost, made sure I was all working with the DNS bods, and then pass it over to Michael to actually do the build. So yeah.
Michael, you on the call? Sorry, I'm just picking the people that have posted about the microsites in the chat. Are you on the call, Michael?
I am. Sorry, I was hiding. Yeah, from a content design point of view, it's been very easy. We've got a number of different microsites at various stages of development.
Can't hear you, Michael.
Is that any better? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you. Okay.
Okay, I'll try. Yeah, from a content design point of view, it's been very positive. It's pretty easy to drop everything together, as you've shown, Mark, in terms of being able to change your colours and overwrite things. That's very useful, particularly where we've had designers working on putting together new branding and things for different projects. Yeah, I mean, it has a lot of potential. It's a lot easier than having to obviously hard code these sites. The layout build is great. It's just, I say, working out some of the quirks of the system as you work your way around it. I mean, as you've been talking your way through, I'm actually sat building a microsite in the background. Yeah, it's a relatively simple process, and I think it's one of those ones where, as with everything, get your hands on with the system and just try it out. Well worth doing.
That's brilliant. Thanks, Michael. There's 2 more questions in the chat, which we've probably just about got time for. Is it easy to remove sites? Ask Scott. Question for Mark, I guess.
Yeah, you just delete the microsite the same as you delete any bit of content on Drupal.
Yeah, brilliant. Oh, Ryan responded with click of a button. So there we go. And last one, how have people got around microsites being indexed on Google? That's from Emma at Cumberland.
Emma, you saying you don't want microsites indexed on Google?
Both. So how are people getting them indexed and providing sitemap, and then how are people getting around not indexing them if it's for a sort of niche audience?
Yeah, well, the first one, to get them indexed, once you create your sitemap and go to Google Search Console, you can add that in there, so it should start indexing it from there like any website. The second, to not have it indexed, you can add a meta tag, robots meta tag that says no index, and then it should respect that. Like, Google won't index it for you, but you might get some crazy search index from Russia or China decides we're going to do it, but that's up to them to decide not to respect that edit tag or not.
Great, thank you.
Brilliant. Thanks, Mark.
Tim,
Yes, Ryan.
Ryan, sorry, there was another question from Glenn asking, it was a bit further up, asking what's next and if anyone can help like contribute and stuff.
I've missed that. I've missed it and I can't see it. Do you want to read out the question as it is, Ryan?
Yeah, I'll read it. It says, what's coming next? Anything that needs help, or anything that needs help or contributions to. Sorry, this chat keeps on jumping up and down. But that was like the gist of it.
Mark, what's next? Do you know?
I don't actually. We've kind of completed a feature set that we initially wanted. If anyone has a request for a new feature, let us know. I'm kind of finding a lot of things people request are often relevant to LocalGov Drupal as well. So we like there has been a few bug reports against microsites which actually we fixed in LocalGov Drupal or LocalGov Base or something that perpetrate through it all. So no, that's kind of a long way of saying I'm not sure what's next. Tell us what you want. We'll go build it.
Brilliant. Thanks, Mark. Maybe I think there's still a microsites channel in Slack. You could post in there, and I think Finn has put in to the chat the microsites repository on GitHub. So thanks for that, Finn. Okay, so we're at the end of the session. Thanks, Mark. That was great. Hopefully people have understood how easy it is. Thanks to everyone for coming. We hope you found it useful. Thanks for everyone's questions and comments. We hope you've enjoyed this session and the other ones from LocalGov Drupal Week. Please give us your feedback by responding to the email you receive after the session. Thanks again to our sponsor, Home Connections. There's lots going on this week, so please register for future events on our Luma page, and I'm just about to put the link to that in the chat. That's it from us for this session. There's one in 10 minutes time with Cynthia and Layla from InViews. You can find details of that on the Luma page, so maybe see you there. But that's it from us. Thanks again to Mark. Thanks everyone for coming, and see you again soon. Bye-bye.